I just finished watching the second season of Squid Game, The Challenge, and I'm not typically a reality show type of guy, a game show type of guy, so I don't know if this is going to exactly be a positive review, but it was good enough that it kept me watching throughout the entire thing. We're going to be breaking it down today as much as we possibly can. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. So the reason that I mentioned I'm not particularly, I'm not the particular viewer that the show is trying to encapsulate, because I watch this and I mostly watch it because these are the types of shows my wife is really into. It was okay. The games were fun. The problem is, I don't know. I truthfully don't know which it is. This thing is either scripted to some extent where it's like, okay, everybody needs to cry now, or they actively seek out the most unlikable, biggest idiots on the planet to actually participate in a game show. And that makes for a good viewing experience for people who are into reality shows, but it's not my cup of tea. I find myself looking at this and just shaking my head most of the time when I'm watching it. So we're going to be breaking this down. I'm going to talk about it. Excuse me if you can hear my notification over there. We're going to break it down as much as we can. We're going to talk about the games. We're going to talk about the people, but we can't really break down too many of the people, but we are going to be uploading a tier list ranking the main characters from the cast, so stay tuned for that, guys. We're going to start off with 456 players coming about. They had to get 2 volunteers, and this is where we're introduced to the 2 twins, and the 2 twins, honestly, they played the game very well. They ended up having to play against each other. They had to group up and count to 456. Whoever in that show came up with the idea to pick a musician is incredible, because I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have sat there because, I don't know, once I heard the idea, if let's say I was in charge, once I heard the idea of, hey, pick a musician, I'm like, yeah, dude, that's a phenomenal idea. Other than that, I wouldn't want to trust anybody else, and I'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, but the problem is, that might even be too fast, just what I was thinking. The dumb idea was whoever picked the nurse doing the slowest count ever. She was like, yep, but I'm the right person to do it because I save lives. You're not doing it properly. So obviously the musician was going to get it done. Everybody ended up getting booted out, but because the one twin was brave enough to volunteer, he ended up continuing on. But then after that, they get right into the first game. Well, I mean, I believe you can call that the first game, right? Where they get into the 6-legged game where they had to play all of those different games. There isn't much to break down here. Besides, they put a lot of emphasis on the relationship between, I remember her name's Zoe, I believe it is. I forget the name of her father. Dude, I don't know what they were, like, filming those two so much for. The girl was being so rude to her dad. Yeah, the dad wants to socialize, the dad wants to build alliances, and people might not really be too into that, but why are you, like, talking crap about your dad? You would think that you and your dad would be like this. Like, if I was entering a game show with my dad, we would be buddy-buddy the entire time. Then I would get skeptical of things like, okay, is it really right to partner right here because we could be playing against each other? Those types of things. But I'd be hanging out with my dad the whole time. But they're filming this girl going like, oh, my dad. And then the poor dad, when he's watching Zoe play, he's like, that's my girl. Yes, that's my girl. Like, I feel so bad for him. But you could argue failed parenting, just a little bit not being, it's a conversation for another time. So they play all those games that they did in the show. I don't know why the hell anybody would offer to do the card house. I don't know why anybody would offer to do, Dachi, am I saying it right? You know, the thing where you had to pick up the dice and then you had to like flip it over and flip it over again. I still don't really understand to play it, but look at these hands. I'm not catching any die. I have, did I just use dice and dice wrong? Videos all over the place, guys. Sorry about that. I felt bad for some people, like, you know, the people shaking with the card house. I would pick the one where you had to like throw the rock and knock over the other rock. That's pretty simple. There isn't really anything that we can break down until we get into really the final games. Now for the next game, I actually really loved it. And I can't remember, there was 3 guys that were left out there. The one dude that was a little bit louder than the others, that was kind of being real, at least, you know, in this show full of completely fake people. Like, everybody's loving each other. Everybody's bonding with each other. It was a dude, I believe he picked Viper. I'm sorry, I don't remember their names. I would need to have them in front of me. I liked him. I was sad that he ended up, that Viper ended up getting taken off from the show. But I loved the game, the second game that they did where they had to play catch. They had to line up in the line, and they had to throw it to the closest person. They all had their teams. They all had their strategies. But then once the game ends up going, it's difficult. I would have tried my best to force my way to the front of the line. And dude, The twins played the game so nicely. They wormed their way to the front of the line. And you know what pisses me off too? Is the people in the game show don't understand that people are playing in the game show, and it's only okay when they, deceive people for the game show. So what? They got to the front of the line. That's genius. I get there with my brother. I get the ball. I have an easy toss. Get it back to me. I throw it to my brother. We're both safe. You're looking out for yourself. And I guarantee you anybody at the front of the line would not have a problem with themselves doing that. They would look at it as intelligent. But once you get to the back of the line, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe these people wormed their way. Little weasel at the front of the line. Crazy. There was a lot of people that obviously looked like they couldn't catch. There was the one Star Wars guy. I wanted him to win the entire thing, man. We're going to talk about people that I wanted to win as we continue on, but I wanted him to win. You know why? Because he was real. He wanted the $1 million. I think it was $4 million they had. He goes, I'm going to take care of my bills with $1 million. I'm going to give my family $1 million. And then I am going to spend $1 million on a Star Wars wedding. As ridiculous as that is, okay? In general, I think expensive weddings are ridiculous. At least he was honest. I can't take all of the sob stories. I think half the people are making it up. That other dude that was talking about how he made up that he was a father, genius. At least he was honest about it. At least he sat down in that camera. He was like, hey guys, I'm expecting. I've never been a father before. Getting all the parents on his side. He's playing the game. I love that. I love that he's real in the sense that he then goes to the camera and then goes, yeah, that kid doesn't exist. But then that guy was beyond stupid for spilling that to somebody. Yeah, that kid doesn't actually exist. What an idiot. I was cheering for him in that sense, man. Because at least he's playing. He's being honest in front of the camera. He's playing the game how he needs to play the game. Genius move. He just screwed himself. Because everybody felt betrayed. You know what I would do if I was in that show? I would be like, you smart little sack of crap. I can't believe you got that. And I would want to I would keep that information myself until it was relevant to bring it up, like at the finals or something like that. Get a good ally in that sense. I just don't understand what these contestants like again, they're so ridiculous, the vast majority of them, that it has to be scripted. But anyways, there is really nothing else to break down about Catch. I would get to the front of the line as soon as I possibly could. Some people got it, some people didn't. The reason I brought up the Star Wars guy is because he goes, I'll catch the ball. And then that was probably the guy that I wanted to win the most throughout the entire thing. I was like, you're not going to catch the ball. That's the last dude that I would throw to. And then you had that little weasel too. I understand you're playing the game. I get that. But little weasel man turned his back and is like, I'm not getting the ball. You're getting yourself out. I get it. But man, come on, that was bad too. And honestly, guys, it's the same kind of deal for the next couple games. You had Mingle and you had the marble game, which was... I hated watching the marble. Mingle was fun. Mingle was fun in Squid Game. It's fun now. I even play Mingle maps when I play Fortnite. If you're interested in Fortnite, I have an entire channel dedicated to Fortnite. Description down below, link tree. We have multiple channels on over here that you can take a look at. Mingle was fun. Nothing to really break down about that. But the marbles, man, I can't take it. I can't take these people. I'd be on that show. Sure, you would make friends, but how long have they been together? A week max? Maximum? I can't get you out. I just can't do it. It has to be scripted. People aren't this ridiculous. Are they? I don't know. I couldn't take it. I was shaking my head the entire time. I didn't care that any of them got out. And it's against the rules, right, in marbles that you can't just physically dominate your opponent, right, and get all of the marbles and just put them and just give them away and go away. Is that against the rules? Because that's something that I would definitely be doing. But as we continue on, we get into the more of the final game. So we're getting to know our contestants just a little bit more. And I believe right before the chutes and ladders was when that guy stupidly admitted that he actually didn't have a child there. I don't really know. But anyways, there was this whole side thing about hall monitors being chosen. The hall monitors got to have good food. Why you would get legitimately bothered by somebody being a hall monitor is beyond me. They took a risk. It was a good risk. And because these people are so stupid, they were like, oh my God, look at them. They're just eating their steak up there. I don't remember what they said, but you could see like visible resent growing in them. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? It's ridiculous. You get to the chutes and ladders and it gets even worse because you had the poker player, and the poker player at this point, I was just hoping won because he was being picked on for playing the game. He seemed like the only normal guy there. He went in, he rolled his die, he advanced, whatever, right? And then the two girls tried to get him out by going in the chutes and ladders. He gets them back. Oh my god, what an asshole. Oh my god, this guy's targeting me. He's targeting me. What do you expect the guy to do? You tried to get him out. He doesn't want to break alliances with anybody else, so he attacks back. I was shaking my head this entire time. I was so happy when he made it through. The only critique I have about chutes and ladders, by the way, super cool. I would love to play that in real life. And I couldn't believe that they actually just like CGI'd them like falling into a pit of darkness. That was a nice touch. I enjoyed that. Why? It's beyond me. If you're trying to win this game, you're trying to win $4 million. If I'm partnered with somebody who I know is going to snake me the first chance that they get. But the problem is, these people are either stupid or they're gullible or it was scripted. I don't know which it is. If I'm there with somebody, all I have to say is like, oh, I really don't want to pick the slide first. It's okay. I got it. And these people are acting all heroic in like this game show that nobody's going to remember them by. Maybe some people will get a little bit of a social media following, but it's ridiculous. Why you would sacrifice yourself is beyond me. And we're going to get into sacrificing yourself. Crazy. So I'm glad the poker player made it through. The chutes and ladders was a very unique way to go about this. I like that it had some actual Squid Game challenges, and I like that they came up with some as well. And for the next two games, there was a game called Trust, I believe it was, where they had to like do a little bit of musical chairs, and then somebody had to put a box on your table, and then you had to figure out who put it on. There's not much to say about that. It was an interesting game. It was good to watch. Then some people had to play shuffleboard, which was a little bit unfortunate, but my poker player was still at it. He's going on to the finals. Then for the final game, they end up playing red light, green light. Again, excuse me if you can hear my notification there. They had the feast. They had their tuxes. I ended up cheering for the poker player, and I wanted Vanessa to win. They were the ones like... But then again, Vanessa started coming up with a big sob story too. I like the fact that at least at the dinner table, the poker player was the only one going like, oh my god, my mom's dead. He goes, I'm a normal guy. He was lying about being a millionaire, which was smart. Because if he said they was a millionaire, people would have absolutely freaked out about him. I think he actually did tell somebody, but that person ended up getting out. I don't remember. So they were yapping through the dinner the entire time, and they had to play the gold coin, black coin game. Trinity decides to go, I'm sacrificing myself. As a man of faith, I know that I'm not supposed to say this thing, okay? My gut is telling me, like, I'm not buying this nice guy act that you have, Trinity, okay? But what other reason would he sacrifice himself for? And, dude, the last thing that I would do is ever sacrifice myself, because you don't know what these people's stories are. They could be lying straight through their teeth. You're mean to tell me the 456 people, at least 90% of them, they all have something like crucial and horrible about their lives? Really? You don't know that. Half of them are probably normal people. The majority of them are probably normal people. The last thing I would do is sacrifice myself for a bunch of liars. And he goes, I really, your stories touched me. I'm just going to sacrifice myself. Could you imagine, by the way? He did that, played up this whole thing where he's crying, gets to the last person and goes, gold coins in this hand, and he's lying. That would have been hilarious. Okay? We continue on. Red light, green light. They close it off with the most famous Squid Game of all. I thought it was a little bit unfair, to be honest, because you would think that the poker player would have an advantage, being he was a tall, relatively athletic-looking guy. And in dress shoes, too. I understand why an ankle popped. Regardless, poker player ended up losing. He tripped. Crazy. Then you have the police officer. I understand it's a lot easier said than done, but if there's $5 million on the line and there's like a 5-second sprint, I don't care what pops, man. You can make it through. And this is where I think that it's scripted. These things have to be scripted. I don't understand why you wouldn't just force yourself to continue running. Plus, you'd probably have an adrenaline rush in that sense too. I just don't get it. And then you have the girl that won. She was a little bit of a crybaby the entire time. I wanted the poker player to win, and they all ended up cheering against the poker player because the poker player was playing the game. Again, this isn't exactly a show for me, but hey, we have a millionaire. I'm happy for her. Hopefully her story was true. Hopefully she actually uses it to help her family. But you don't know anything about these people. They could be all just lying. Dude, at the beginning of the show too, when you had people picking other people for elimination, that was one I forgot to talk about. I think it was the twin that had, yeah, it was the twin. In between the games where he had to go up to people and go, hey, player 456, good luck in the next game. And that was like code for they're going to be eliminated. The first thing that I would have done, I asked people, so what are you playing the game for? The biggest sob story I hear is gone. I can't take it. And then I'd be honest about it too. So, hey, Netflix, if you're looking for somebody to ever just cause a bunch of drama for things that you shouldn't really cause drama, I'll be your guy. So that's been Squid Game Challenge Season 2. If you guys want to hear a review for the actual Squid Game, why don't you check out our Season 3 review right here? I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.